Hello and welcome to The Night Feed. I'm your host, Charlotte, here to bring you some company during, let's face it, one of the toughest parts of being a new parent, The Night Feed. Tonight's unpaid sponsor is trying to get the baby down of an evening so you can have 5 minutes. If you're new to the podcast, I co-sleep with my baby who's almost 10 months, and this generally involves holding him of an evening. I feed him to sleep and I kind of just sit with him on the sofa and then take him up with me when I go to bed. However, the last few weeks I've been trying to settle him at about 8 o'clock, put the monitor on and let him have a couple of hours without me, and it's actually been working. And I did it the other day and it felt so funny to come down without baby in my arms. I said to Jason, I'm hands-free after 9 months, can't believe it. Because I've just been kind of leaning into the fact that if I put him down independently, he'll probably wake after 20 minutes and I need to get into a better routine. I know I do. But this has been working, and we had a couple of weeks of him going for about 2 hours, like 8 till 10 or 8 till 11. So we've been getting a takeaway in. Now, before he would go down, I would always opt for Domino's because I could eat it with him in my hands. Jason would say, what takeaway do you fancy? And I would always just say pizza because I can eat with a baby. However, the other night we're like, should we get an Indian in? We were getting cocky because he was staying asleep. So like, yeah, let's get an Indian in. The one night I had got him to sleep, I'd had Just Eat lined up, so I'd pressed order as soon as he fell asleep. I got him down, walked away. He woke. He would not go back down to sleep. He was awake, just playing in the living room. I said to Jason, the one night we wanted this takeaway that we've been gearing up for, that I can eat with a knife and fork instead of my hands. And he wants to play. But anyway, he had a lovely old play. He watched Drive to Survive with us. We ate our Indian and it was all fine. Minor meltdown from me because I was so excited to have this little date night Indian. But do you know what? It's all good, isn't it? It's all good. These things sent to try us sometimes. But yeah, I do need to get into a better routine with kind of getting him to sleep of an evening, because I know it's better for his sleep. He's less disturbed. I can have a minute. And I think maybe I've lent into this a little bit more than I usually would with my older two, because I feel like he could be our last baby and I'm just savouring the cuddles. But it is what it is. I've been having a chat with a lovely listener this week called Elle up in Scotland, and her background is also in marketing like me. And we were talking about how susceptible we as mums are to algorithms and online marketing. Elle originally wrote in about contact naps. And when I discussed it on the podcast last week, I was saying how she puts her baby down and feels bad for not contact napping all the time, whereas I contact nap a lot but then feel bad for not getting him into more of a routine. And we were saying about how it's interesting that the algorithm feeds her content that's more about holding the baby, and my algorithm's all about getting your baby to sleep independently. And it's so interesting how our social media algorithms are set up to feed us kind of the opposite what we're doing, because it makes us scroll more and it keeps us hooked. Because if you're constantly seeing content that's like, you're doing a great job, like sleep however you want to sleep with a baby and don't listen to all the noise, then we probably wouldn't go on it as much. Whereas our psyche is set to be a bit challenged and to be triggered by things. And these platforms know how to trigger us as new mums. They know what we're searching for. They know what's worrying us. They're so intuitive. And we were saying that because our backgrounds were in marketing, we can see the strategy behind how social media is used by brands, how it is used by the tech companies that build these platforms to keep us scrolling, keep us on there, make us purchase. I think if you're not privy to that, so if you've not maybe worked in, say, email marketing or meta advertising, you may not know the lengths brands can go to target you and what you're going through right now. And I just thought I'd make a real point of it on the podcast, because I thought there's a lot of mums out there that maybe feel like they're failing because, they're not getting their baby down, or that baby's not sleeping through, or I don't know, a whole mix of different things that you're probably thinking at the moment. Like for me, my baby's nearly 10 months and doesn't really sleep independently for very long, but that's what works for me right now. Yes, sometimes I need a bit of a minute and I don't necessarily get that, but I know my social media algorithm is set up to torment me about that. And I just wanted to remind you that whatever you're searching for on Google, whatever you're looking for in ChatGPT, whatever adverts you've clicked on, whatever content you've clicked on, is all being tracked. And it's there to get you when you're down and to prod you and to make you think, oh, actually, I do need that white noise machine because this influencer's told me that it's the best thing since sliced bread and it will work on my baby's sleep. The amount of things I bought for my first baby when it came to sleep, you just conned into thinking, this is going to fix it. No, this is going to fix it. When in actual fact, there's nothing to fix. Babies wake for comfort. Babies wake to feed. Babies aren't broken. And we're constantly being fed this information like we're failing. And there's so much research showing that the more time new mums spend on social media, the higher the levels of anxiety and low mood. So if you ever had that moment of thinking, why do I feel this crap after scrolling? Then there's a reason, because like I said, these platforms, they're not designed with your well-being in mind. They're designed for engagement, which means they learn really, really quickly what keeps your attention. You don't even have to like or save a video. The fact that you watch more than 15 seconds of a video means that interests you. That's all being watched. And unfortunately, what keeps our attention isn't always the calm, reassuring, you're doing great content. It's the stuff that triggers us, the posts that make us question ourselves, what the routines look like, the babies that sleep longer, that don't cry. And there's so much research on this as well. Like when mums are exposed to idealized versions of motherhood, it actually lowers self-esteem and increases feelings of inadequacy. So not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your brain is wired to compare. And when you layer that on top of being a new mum, when you're already exhausted, you're sensitive, you're trying to figure out who you even are, and your brain is actively looking for guidance, of course you're going to look outside of yourself, and of course you're going to think, am I doing this right? So what I thought I'd do is, I've done a bit of research and I found a few studies on the things that social media and online adverts and content are doing to us as new mums. So the first bit of research is social media and postnatal mental health, and it was published in the Journal of Affective Disorders. And the finding was that higher social media use in new mothers is linked to postpartum depression and increased anxiety symptoms. So if you felt worse after scrolling, this research states that it's not random, and that is very real for a lot of mothers. The next piece of research is comparison and ideal motherhood. So this is an effect that it has on us, and it's research in Body Image and Maternal Child Health Journal. So the finding in this is that exposure to perfect mum content leads to lower maternal self-esteem and increased feelings of inadequacy. And this is especially strong in first-time mums. Now, I can understand that because when I had my first, I was so much more susceptible to learning things, to understanding things, to questioning myself. Whereas now I've got my third baby, I've kind of been through it and I know what is noise and what is true and how to cut through that. But if you're a first-time mum, the comparison effect and ideal motherhood is really, really doing damage to your self-esteem. Number 3 is research on nighttime phone use and mental health. This was published in the Sleep Health Journal, and the finding is that using phones at night disrupts melatonin production, increases sleep disturbance, which then links to anxiety and depression, especially postpartum. So again, we all know deep down that using our phone at night is not great. I think a lot of us do it still, but if you are struggling, especially with anxiety and depression, then it's something to consider, trying to put your phone in a different room before you go to bed. Next piece of research is doom scrolling and negative feedback loops. This is research from universities including the University of Sussex and the University of Pennsylvania. And their findings were that algorithms push emotionally charged content. This reinforces anxiety circles and negative thought patterns. And this is what I said earlier. Social media wants to trigger us. It doesn't always want to tell us all the garden's rosy, because that content and the way our brain works doesn't keep us scrolling. So anxiety loops are a real thing. Social media reduction improves mental health. So this study is again from the University of Pennsylvania. And the finding was that limited social media to 30 minutes a day led to reduced loneliness and reduced depression. That's how impactful that can be. Number 6 is information overload and decision fatigue. Research in cognitive psychology and parenting studies found that too much conflicting information leads to increased stress and reduced confidence in decision making, which is crucial as a new parent, isn't it? And I still find this now. I get so much information, especially around the things that I'm currently searching for, currently looking for answers to. Oh my goodness me, the videos you see. And it's important to remember as well that your algorithm is completely tailored to you. So just a reminder that the overload that we get, especially on topics we're searching for, can really, really damage our outlook and damage how we're thinking and the decisions we're making. The next study is isolation and social media, the paradox. So you think you're going on social media to get a bit of company, see other mums, maybe message a few people. And this was published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. And the finding was that high social media use is linked to increased perceived social isolation. So even though it thinks like you feel like it's a connection, heavy social media use is actually linked to feeling more alone, which is the exact opposite of what new mums need. So I just wanted to go through those studies because it's easy me saying, oh, social media is bad for you. But I just wanted to give you a more nuanced insight into what it's actually doing. If you're going through a really, really rough patch with sleep, there's no doubt you'll be getting fed tons of information on that, and it will be triggering. It'll probably be the opposite thing of what you're doing at the moment. The amount of videos that I'm being fed on sleep training is unreal, because I currently, like I said, co-sleep with the baby. I get woken up a few times in the night. He's 10 months. People on Instagram and TikTok would argue, oh, baby should be sleeping through by now, and blah, blah. And it makes me doubt myself, even though I've been through it twice before and I know this is what works for me. It makes me really doubt myself. So I just wanted to lay all that out there for you to make you realise that whatever you're seeing that's making you doubt yourself as a mum, take it with a pinch of salt. Please take it with a pinch of salt. And I've been thinking lately about creating something for us, a place where we can go to get away from social media, sort of like a sanctuary that has no noise or opinions, just gentle, practical things like meditations, yoga classes, online chats where you can bring a brew or a wine and just have a chat via Zoom openly with other moms, say once a week. Because I know a lot of new mums are at home with the baby, feeling a bit isolated, and social media isn't helping us. So I was thinking maybe it's a way we could have like an online weekly chat where we all just bring a brew, bring the baby, and have a vent or discuss things we're all going through at the same time. I was even thinking of having like a virtual retreat as well, where we could have meditation, a yoga session. Maybe we bring a face mask, a glass of wine if you're so inclined. Just to kind of give us a bit of self-care and a bit of a reminder that what we're seeing online is not always right, and to help us to put our phones down. So if you'd like to see this and you think the idea could be something you'd be interested in, drop me an email, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll be sure to send you a link when I have some kind of prototype to show you. Your opinions really matter to me, because this is why I'm doing it, really, to help new mums come away from the thing I believe that is damaging our mental health. So let me know what you think and drop me an email and I'll keep you updated. I'll jump ahead onto the emails. This email says, Charlotte, I had to laugh and cry a little the other day when my gran said to me, just keep her awake all day, then she'll sleep through the night. My baby is 9 months old and barely tolerates being awake as it is. It's said so casually, like it's the simplest solution in the world, but it completely throws me every time. I already spend so much time trying to read her cues and not overtire her, and then I hear things like that and I'm suddenly questioning everything I'm doing. Just wondered how to handle these comments without spiraling or feeling like I have to defend every choice I make. Love the podcast. It's honestly helped me trust myself a bit more. Love, Emma. Emma, here we are. Good old bit of boomer parenting advice. We love it on this podcast. Oh God, it's hard, isn't it? When you go to an elderly relatives and they ask you, is he good at night? And you're like, he's only like 10 months. He doesn't know what good at night means. He waits because he needs comfort or feeding. And comments like that are like, well, why are you letting him nap then now? I'm like, oh God. And I completely get it. They're trying to be helpful. I know they're trying to be helpful because they see us being tired and saying we're not getting much sleep at night. So they think the comment of, well, keep him awake is going to help. And yes, it makes you question everything, but it shouldn't. And I feel like to certain generations, maybe older than us, the whole overtiredness thing is like, that can't be right. But we get ourselves in knots over sleep, don't we? And I think it's because we're trying to preserve our own sleep. Lack of sleep is torture. So we are going to be scientific about it. We are going to want to understand naps and wake windows and how we get them to sleep better. But yeah, boomer comments like that when they're thrown around to make you feel a bit like you're not doing the right thing are difficult. So you just have to take it as them being kind and not as being, I don't know, they're not being dismissive, are they? They're just kind of giving you advice. But because they parented quite a long time ago, they probably won't remember the baby naps and the nap schedule. And I bet there was naps back in the day. Babies would nap throughout the day. You said your baby's 9 months old. They still need their naps, don't they? Mine's 10 months and he has 2 naps a day. He needs them. And if he doesn't have his afternoon nap, come 6 o'clock, he is in a bit of a state. So you know what's best for your baby. Take the advice, smile, and move forward with your day, because otherwise it will grind you down. You're doing nothing wrong, Emma. You're doing everything right, I'm sure. Take boomer and social media advice with a pinch of salt. Next tonight is What's Trending. And what's been trending this past couple of weeks is Louis Theroux's new documentary on Netflix called The Manosphere. Now, this isn't directly related to new mum parenting, but I believe it is very important for parents. If you've not seen it, it's a documentary on, they're called red pill creators, and they're basically men who believe more so in traditional values, traditional gender roles. Some of them have extremely strong opinions on women and men and what they believe in. Very triggering to women to hear these, because we've come such a long way over the past 50, 60 years. to be shot down by these men and what they believe in is triggering. And I was listening to Catherine Ryan talk about this. Now, Catherine Ryan is an ardent feminist. She's a comedian, if you don't know her, from Canada. She lives in the UK, and she's always been extremely pro-female, and I don't want to say anti-men, but she would probably say she's anti-men. Anyway, she spoke about this on her podcast, and she was kind of praising their work ethic. Now, their work ethic is very much, no one's going to give you anything in life. You have to get up. You have to make your own fortune. And she said that as men, the guys on the program say, as men, you're born with nothing. You are nothing. You have to work your way up. Now, she was kind of defending that, saying, well, actually, that is a good work ethic. That is a good way to be, that you have to fight for what you want in life, which I also believe is right, that you do need to fight for what you want and you need to work hard. That is the only bit, the one isolated bit that you could say, yes, if they were influencers that were pro equality, and wanted to talk about work ethic, then great. But because they are so triggering, she got quite a lot of backlash by people being really shocked by her taking it. And I actually think she wasn't saying they're great. She was kind of saying their work ethic's good, and kind of took for granted that her listeners would know she was very anti these men. But anyway, that kind of made me want to have a bit of a discussion on it. And I think it's a really, really difficult thing that we're facing in culture at the moment. And my biggest concern with this, as a mum of 3 young children, is that the people that follow these red pill content creators are young, impressionable males. Now, as adults, we can detach certain messages that they portray. So we can say, right, the work ethic thing, yeah, I can get on board with that. Everything else is very dangerous and is backwards when you think of how far we've come. It's very triggering. And what scares me is that the young, impressionable males watching this content are growing up with my children. And it scares me to death that they are telling them it's okay to treat women like this. It's okay to make women, women are bad. We're just men and we're trying to build a life for ourselves, and women belong in the kitchen. They're there to raise the children and they can't have any other aspirations than that. And it's so, so damaging that as millennials and older, we know that that's wrong, and that we know that they're putting that triggering content out to get a reaction, to get views, because they admitted that in the documentary, that if we don't put triggering content out there, we won't get views. So we as adults can say, well, right, they're doing that and they're saying them things to cause a reaction, whether they believe in them things or not. But what's really, really scary and damaging is that the young teenagers that idolize these men are believing this stuff. And that these are men that have got Lamborghinis, living in these flash penthouse apartments. They look like they've made it to these young boys. And young, impressionable lads are going to think, well, whatever they're saying strikes a chord with me. It must be right if they're successful. So it just terrifies me when you look at the content they're putting out and who they're putting it out to. As a mum of young girls and a young boy, it scares me where the internet is going and what these young people are going to be doing with that information. But tell me your thoughts, thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear what you think about this from a parenting point of view. Next tonight is my self-care tip. And this was a comment I saw to inspire you. It says, my little one is 8 weeks old and slept 6 hours straight last night. Wow. He's currently taking his first afternoon nap. Hubby is vacuuming. I'm in my candlelit bathroom, soaked in a bubble bath that smells like a lavender field. Oh, did I mention I have a glass of wine with me? I'm browsing Reddit for as long as I want. Self-care, folks. It feels so fucking good. Excuse my French. Just thought I'd inspire you with that one. Maybe you should have a immense bubble bath that smells like a lavender field with a glass of wine and no social media. A book. Thanks for being here tonight, as always. Thanks for listening. I hope you maybe took something away from the social media chat and the research. Let me know your thoughts on that, whether you think a platform where we could kind of go as a sanctuary online would be something that interests you. Let me know your thoughts on the manosphere. Anything else we've discussed tonight, email thenightfeedpodcast@gmail.com. Wishing you all a restful, peaceful night ahead. Good night.